We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
The past, couple of weeks, we've been seeing a lot of announcements of so many incredible people that are getting first look deals or, producing all that type of stuff. Shout out to Marsai and Yara. They're just like absolutely killing it right now. And so I kind of want to ask you all like the importance of showing up behind the camera and building new tables and also educating Hollywood on steps on how to basically inform and educate the world through our artivism. And so with Storm, I know you have your own production company. Raamla, what's it like being a Black, woman writer, and also, ensuring that we continue to push that narrative forward. And then Ryan, like, what have you been doing with your platform and all that type of stuff? So I just want to get into it.
I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
No, I feel like that's the exact reason why I created a Seed and Wings production. My mom and I created it because not only I think it's so powerful that we get to own our own IP. Like that is the dopest thing to me.
Yeah.
But like you said, like creating those new tables and giving people opportunities and making sure that, like I like to say, I'm from Atlanta, so making sure that we all eat and putting people on. But like I was saying before, earlier in the conversation, like doing people, not just Black and brown people, but like doing people a disjustice if you're not really telling their narrative and you're not really telling their story. And if my project doesn't reflect what the real world looks like, then that's not good content for me. Like that's not something that I want to put out in the world. So the projects that we just sold, 2 projects, I can't say too much about them. Yeah, just but I just, again, I moved from a place of purpose and faith. And I know that I have to be very specific what I choose to be a part of, and just making sure no matter if that's a drama, a comedy, an action movie, I'm going to be having a conversation. And not only is that cast going to look like the real world, but so is my set. Like if you can do the job, I don't care. Like you get the job. If you can do it, if you're passionate about it, I don't care what you look like. I don't care your sexuality. I don't care your religion. Like that, none of that matters to me as long as you're a good person and you're passionate and you're willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears like we all are, then I'm happy. So that's just our approach.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have been kind of moving into, sometimes with projects, I have an overall deal at ABC Studios, and sometimes, they'll have like young writers come in who may need like supervision. So I just actually just started with a young Black male writer, kind of supervising him. And I actually really enjoyed it because I think that it must be so different, to have another Black writer, because a lot of times, a lot of the upper level writers are white. So they say, okay, well, the project is like about a guy who survived a police shooting. And so they have a Black writer, but then they're like, okay, well, of course we want a Black person to write it, but really like a white person is running the show, or a white person is, making the decisions and editing and casting or whatever it is. But I was like, what a great opportunity to, actually uplift another person of color's voice, particularly Black men, and I think that what's been great is, being able to let him have his voice, because there's a shorthand in being just Black, and knowing kind of, and not him not having to explain certain things. And also just thinking about the kind of stories that I want to put out there. What do I want my name associated with? And I don't want it associated with things that are, setting us back or problematic, or, not highlighting Black women or in some way. So yeah, so I think back to kind of the responsibility thing is I think when you hear responsibility, it seems like it's some kind of burden, but for me, it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to use my platform and tell stories that we just don't get to see, and let us be messy, and and cast the girl who looks different, or the guy who isn't necessarily the light skinned cast, or whatever, we can just be open. I have a project where I've written the girl to be Ethiopian and another character to be Black American, and my dad was from Somalia, so it's like I want to see those conversations too, because being African and being Black are different. Like there's so many versions of Blackness, and let's tell these stories. So that's what I'm excited about. I'm like, give me all the Blackness. All the stories with Black. And that is fine with me.
Yeah. I love what you were talking about with there's different experiences to being Black. Like there are different levels, and making sure that we're not always just kind of operating at the same level. And like how I was saying, with a lot of times casting light skinned actresses that's more in the comfort zone, and like really breaking out of that and exploring and expanding these new ideas of what Blackness means to us and what it can look like to the rest of the world. So Ryan, as well, I would love for you to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that our purpose is just so much bigger than, being entertainers. And I think that that's just so important that we live in that and understand and figure out, what we can do that just, expands what we can do to give other people opportunities. And, I think that's just what it's all about. So getting to that point where you're in a position of power and you can, just do what you want to do and what is right, and just the different things and how you can just change the perspective of a lot of things and just how a lot of people think. So I mean, it's inspiring seeing so many young people make these production companies like Storm, and it's just amazing. And hopefully in the future just collabing with those and creating stories and having different meetings and conversations just about, what we can do to just elevate all of that. And, hopefully in the future, it can just be something that I dive into even more. But that's always been my main purpose, is to, get to a point where I can have a lot more control, because I think that's when, things actually change, when the people that actually care are in those positions to change things and make it.
Yeah, definitely. And that was kind of like my whole point when I created my production company, Ultimate Dreamer Productions. The whole name and I guess brand behind Ultimate Dreamer is an Ultimate Dreamer is an audacious visionary. And an audacious visionary is someone who basically goes out and does whatever they set their heart and mind to. And so the whole purpose behind the production company, why I started it, was because growing up, I didn't necessarily see myself, nor my friends or my mom or my cousins. None of us, we necessarily really felt properly represented in the media. And so having, Scandal, having, people like Miss Carrie and Miss Viola, and having How to Get Away with Murder. I just remember that feeling when I first saw, these two strong Black women grace my screen as, these bosses that were, running their own, they were running everything. And so just seeing that, and I remember how that made me feel. And so with my production company, I hope that I can continue to push that forward and do what, Miss Carrie, Miss Viola, what Miss Shonda did for me, for other young Black girls everywhere. Now that Hollywood is listening and multiple tables have been built within the industry, what's your biggest hope moving forward?
For me, my biggest hope is that this is not just for face value. There really will be a change moving forward, that Hollywood will stop perpetuating stereotypes, that women will be given more opportunities, Black women will be given more opportunities in front of the camera, behind the camera, in finance, making sure that we just have the power in all different facets of Hollywood, because it's not just, I guess, TV and filmmaking, like there's a lot that goes into these projects. There's people that we don't know that have power, but we just know that they don't look like us. So yeah, I hope that there's just real change. I feel like we're making baby steps, but I feel like during this uprising, this has been the most hopeful that I have been for the world and for Hollywood. But there have been times where we'll make baby steps and we'll get there and we'll talk about change, but then we'll just revert back to our old ways. So I hope that doesn't happen. And then I just hope that I can be a part of the change and the projects that I continue to be a part of, whether that's as an actress, as a producer, or hopefully down the line as a filmmaker, just making sure that I am representing the world as a whole, fully, beautifully, and with purpose.
Yeah. Ryan?
Yeah, I think for sure, to piggyback off of that, is definitely hoping that this isn't just, you know, another trendy type of moment, and that it, you know, it just is really going to be a reflection of the future, and hopefully we continue to take accountability and also hold others accountable. I think that that's, you know, hopefully really what, you know, a lot of us have learned throughout this whole process. You know, just making sure we're all aware of everything, and, you know, not letting little things slide anymore, and you know, just hopefully continuing to create spaces, yeah, like you just said, and just not let it be a moment, but a whole entire movement that continues and continues, and we don't revert back. But yes, I also feel very hopeful, the most I've ever felt before, so that makes me feel good.
Yeah. Ms.
Yeah,
Raamla?
no, I totally agree. I definitely feel the most hopeful. I really hope. I heard Viola Davis say this the other day, that she's like, if I'm the Black Meryl Streep, then, you know, pay me like a Meryl Streep. So I also hope that, not beyond just like, oh, we want to hear these voices and it's important to us. There's such a discrepancy between the way Black writers are paid and Black actors are paid versus white actors. And I just hope that our value is not just said, but also put into checks and money and how we can live. Just because I think that's just as important, because they make a lot of money off of us, and I think it's about time that we start to see that just in the way that our white counterparts do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything that you all were saying is kind of the same for me with my hope for the future. Just everything, you know, making sure, I want to make sure that this isn't just a trend and we continue to see, you know, months, years from now, we continue to, you know, still see the same amount of outrage and also motivation when it comes to telling these stories. Again, like you were saying, Miss Raamla, making sure that we also get our dues. I think it's definitely time for us to, you know, definitely start paying respects and giving our dues to some of these Black actresses that don't necessarily get the respect that they deserve. People like, you know, Nicole Bahari and Nikanoni Rose, that like definitely have not been given their respect, but absolutely need it. I hope that, you know, we continue to tell these progressive stories, to tell these complex characters. And I hope that, you know, I'm a part of the movement and a part of, you know, pushing that narrative forward and changing not only the industry, but also changing the world. So I can't thank you all enough for joining today's conversation. This was such an honor to be a part of. I'm so excited for each and every single one of you. And like I said, thank you again. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Loved it. Thank you, Lexi. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for just doing this whole thing. I love these moments. They're
Yeah.
very needed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
You help us, we help them. Compassion is ingrained in love. That's the answer, but we answer to the opposite direction of the cause. Black bodies, they don't care. You see me unaware of what's on my mind. got some good change in my heart. That's where change gotta start. That's where change gotta start.